Today, we're going to talk about how you can make a funnel to hire salespeople for your company. So to start, I'm going to assume you have a company and a product or service. If you're watching this, probably a software as a service, and you're selling that product. It's going well. It's time to grow. You need salespeople to do it. And in the same way that you have created a sales funnel that turns strangers into customers, you need to create a recruiting funnel that turns strangers into teammates. Right? Now, before we go any further, who am I? What do I know? Why should you listen to me? My name is Sam Marelich. I run Next Venture, which is a recruiting agency based in New York City. I've been hiring B2B software salespeople for venture-backed startups since 2016, primarily in New York, primarily in San Francisco. If you would like to talk a little bit further about potentially working together, my calendar link, it's in the description below. Okay, moving right along. There are two types of funnels in the world. It's true for sales, it's true for recruiting, it's true for anything you want to kind of put. First, we've got inbound funnels. This is where prospects come to you. If you click the link that I was just talking about and we talk about hiring for your team, to me, you are an inbound lead, right? There are outbound funnels. This is where you go to the prospect. If I message you, you don't know who I am, we have a conversation about hiring for your team. Again, to me, you are an outbound lead because I've had to go out to find you. So both have their pros, both have their cons. When it comes to hiring for a sales team, both have a time and a place. Now, inbound funnels, aka job ads. They've got some great pros, they've got some pretty significant cons. So the first one, really fast, really cheap, and really easy to set up. Couple $100, you can set up a job ad this afternoon, you can check in a week and see who's applied. You've probably got a careers page on your website. That is exactly that. That is your inbound funnel to get you applicants. Now the cons, you can't control the quality of the candidates that you get in, and it is a little bit of a feast or famine type dynamic. Now I'm shooting this in 2024. It's a employer's job market right now. So you're probably actually going to see a bit more of that feast. The quality of candidates on the market right now, it's pretty high. If we go back a few years, if we go back to 2021, 2022, it was very much an employee's job market. So the kind of people that you would get coming inbound were just significantly lower quality, relative to today, lower quantity sort of thing. Then we have outbound funnels. This is our standard executive recruiting motion. Don't get scared by the words executive recruiting because you can use this for talent at any level. There are 3 steps to this, right? 1, find profiles of people that you like. 2, message people with this profile, right? Just finding your initial, this is no different to sales, finding your ideal candidate profile, messaging them. And then 3, filling your recruiting pipeline with people who match your ICP. Now, there are some pros to this, there are some cons to this. The pro, higher quality prospects, right? Because you are choosing who you go after. The volume, it's a lot more manageable because again, you are choosing how much effort you put in. The cons, it's higher effort to set up. It's a little bit more expensive to run. You can run a job ad for free, I think, on LinkedIn at this point, or very cheaply. You need something like LinkedIn Recruiter Lite, which is a couple $100 to run this outbound motion. And it is a little bit slower, right? There's just a little bit more of a lag there. You can't set this up in 20 minutes. But as I said, there is a time and there is a place for both of these. The time and the place for the inbound funnel, it's when you're hiring junior talent. In my view, this is actually where job ads really, really shine. I personally use this when I'm hiring SDRs, and there are a few reasons for this, right? So firstly, if you are looking for someone and we're hiring on potential as opposed to experience, and we're talking about sales in particular, the SDR job, it's a lot of rejection. It's a lot of you have to have a desire to be in sales to succeed at this. And so we want someone who has put their hand up to, hey, yes, actually, I want to be in sales. Most people do not want to be in sales. And a few years ago, I experimented with this, right? We did some outbound, recruiting on a whole lot of college graduates. We're saying, hey, have you thought about a career in software sales? and we just got so many rejections. People did not want to do it. And, we were just reaching out to the wrong kind of people. The other thing, with these inbound applications, you get a lot of people coming in. And as I said, we're not really hiring on experience, we're hiring on personality, we're hiring on potential. The thing about a funnel is it does allow you to just naturally cull a lot of the herd. It sounds really crazy, but if you reach out to 20 people who have applied through your job ad, you're probably going to hear back from 12 of them. And then you'll go and set meetings up, and a couple of them will probably cancel, a couple of them will reschedule, a couple of them will just not show up. So even if you have 20 people that look good, you're probably going to talk to about 8 of them. So while the funnel starts really big, it does get a lot smaller pretty quickly. Now, when should you use an outbound approach? Well, my view is for anything else. And the problem with inbound is 99% of candidates are just unqualified, right? And this is not true for the SDR role, because we're not hiring based on experience. But say we're looking for an enterprise AE, just most of the time, we're not going to have that person that we actually want. If you're selling into Midwestern manufacturing firms, we can go out, we can find 20 of those people, we can message them in the next 48 hours. You are not going to have 20 people from the Midwest, with these manufacturing sales experiences coming inbound to you. I mean, look, this might be true if you've got a massive employer brand, if you're really well known, but for 99% of companies, that is not the case. And I think it's kind of telling that, even though companies like Google and Stripe and Facebook, they have these enormous inbound engines, they still hire hundreds, if not thousands of recruiters who are actually still going outbound to find their ideal candidates. The other thing, especially when we are looking for more senior people, the best candidates are just not applying via job ads. And usually it's just a lot more time effective to go outbound. Now, should you have some sort of inbound engine? Yeah, probably, right? If you've got an enterprise AE position open on your website, you might, and on a long enough timescale, you will have great people enter your funnel, right? But it's the sort of thing where it's hey, this person, they work in our space, they like our stage of company, we want to hire them. Those kind of people, they tend to be on a much longer recruiting cycle. And so they're not particularly replicable, right? You might have 1 or 2 of them a year, which it means that it can be worth doing. It can be worth your time, but you're not going to have that panel in 2 weeks of 5 candidates who look very similar. So it's just from a time point of view, so much more effective to go outbound. Possibly the best encapsulation of this, just in terms of how effective these things can be. Now with contact, I'm assuming this is the recruiter had a first call, right? So more or less for every 25 conversations, they made a hire. And that kind of tracks with my kind of metrics, with what I would expect. If I'm reaching out to 100 people, I'm probably hearing back from 20 to 30 of them. I am probably talking to half of those people and then maybe sending through another half of those. So, reach out to 100. The client will probably speak to about 6 or 7. And usually within that 6 or 7, there's a really good person. Now, sometimes we've got to do this a few times, but that would be a general rule. So it's relatively time effective, as I said. Now, referred is gold, right? 1 out of every 11, but it's not particularly scalable. And then I think if you look here, the crazy thing is, this was in 2021. As I said, that was a bit of a difficult market to get good candidates in. They were making 1 hire for every 330 applicants. So, if we go back and we talk about it can be slower to run this outbound funnel. Well, not necessarily. When you actually put through the time it takes to comb through those 300 applicants, it can actually just be quicker to go direct to your prospects. I did a search late last year for 2 SDRs and I got 800 applicants, right, to a job ad. I went through those people. It did take hours and hours. And as I said, I do think for SDR hiring, it makes sense. But for an account executive, if I spend 6 hours sifting through candidate profiles, I really would just be better off spending 6 hours sourcing people and then talking to the best 10% of that batch, right? Because for every person that we reach out to, we are probably looking at 10 to 20 profiles. So it is quite a, just a high fidelity way of looking at things. This was actually deleted, but Ahmad had a similar stat, I think, for last year, for 2023, and it was roughly 1 in every 1,000 applications was getting hired more recently. So, these numbers are pretty scary these days. As I said, you can't control the quality of those inbound applications, which makes things really difficult. Now, there are 2 secrets to recruiting. They're pretty simple. You can look at more profiles and you can have more candidate calls. I was talking to a client recently. I had sent him over a panel of candidates, and he said to me, hey, these look so much better than the candidates we've talked to. Why? And he said to me he'd spoken to 8 candidates in the last 2 months. Now, we were speaking on a Tuesday night. I had spoken to 8 candidates so far that week. And I don't say this to criticize the client. He's got 1,000 other priorities that he's fighting for. He's thinking about product. He's got to talk to customers. He's got to hire for his team. They've got to think about fundraising. There are so many different things that you need to think about. And, if you are someone and you'd like to spend your recruiting time speaking to a small selection of ideal candidates rather than fighting to work out if someone's qualified to even be on the phone with you, well, then maybe you should book a call and we can talk about what hiring for your team would look like. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this and I'll speak to you soon. Cheers.